just a little taster of what you can expect from my tribute album coming out later this year. So I got first introduced to Queen when I was about 8 years old. It was one of the first really big rock bands that spoke to me, and I kind of got into because they were so unlike anything I'd ever heard before. And that also means that Bohemian Rhapsody probably speaks to me on a bit more of a personal level because of my love of Queen when I was at such a young age. But the question is it any good? Let's get into it. So Bohemian Rhapsody is the biopic not just of Freddie Mercury but also of Queen as a band. Yes, it does focus quite heavily on Freddie Mercury and his life and his ups and downs, his trials and tribulations, but it does also focus quite nicely on the songwriting process and the creative process behind Queen as a band. And I like that there is that balance in this film. It would be very, very easy for someone to go out with the intention of making a biopic about Queen and have it focusing solely on Freddie Mercury. It would also be relatively easy to have it the other way around. But what they've done in Bohemian Rhapsody is very, very clever. They focus on the point at which Freddie Mercury started to perform, and that is where the film begins. So yes, this does mainly, for the majority of the film, focus on Freddie Mercury, who he was as a person, the struggles that he faced, the choices that he had to make. He was figuring out a lot about himself the whole time that he was writing songs with Queen. What kind of a person he was, who he wanted to be, who he was on stage and in his personal life. And to see that aspect of someone who, as a frontman for a band like Queen, be humanized in that respect is a huge deal for something like this. Because there are two ways you can handle it. You can handle it really dark and gritty and show everything that went on. Or you can handle it as a nice, light perspective take on someone who had a little bit of trouble growing up in his life. But actually, the points that they've hit in Bohemian Rhapsody are the exact points that matter the most. So his long-term relationship that then ended because of the lifestyle choices that he made. What he then went on to do afterwards and how he coped with it. How he felt lonely as a person despite having all of these royalties and money that was coming in from Queen and being respected and idolized. And that aspect of humanizing someone like that is a really, really good point to hit in this film, and they did it really well. Now, going off of this, I do have to say, Rami Malek as Freddie Mercury was fantastic in this film. Anytime that you see him performing in this film as Freddie Mercury, doing a musical performance, he is so Freddie Mercury in that moment that you believe you are seeing footage of Freddie Mercury, but it's so hard to distinguish between the two. One thing I will say, and it's purely from a visual perspective of the film, I think that the teeth that they gave Rami Malek was just a tad over the top. Freddie Mercury, yes, he did have extra incisors at the front of his mouth. It gave him that unique kind of look. It also gave him that unique kind of singing style. But I think that for the visual aspect of this film, it just seemed a little bit too much in some places, but I can also understand that from an actor's perspective, it makes sense because when those go in makeup, he becomes Freddie Mercury, and he stays as Freddie Mercury until those come out. So from a performance perspective, I totally understand, but when you're watching it on a big screen, those teeth are hard to miss. Now the great thing is, the film has a consistent emotional tone throughout it, which I really liked. You feel for everyone involved. Not only do you feel quite hard for Freddie Mercury when he's having all of his lifestyle struggles, but you feel for the rest of the band as well, because sometimes you feel like they have to put up with it, and they obviously really care about Freddie. And also, it does have to be mentioned that the reference to Wayne's World in this film that is made by the character that Mike Myers is playing in this film, and you don't immediately know that it's him because the makeup is so good, the reference to Wayne's World that he makes might just be one of the best meta in-jokes a biopic has ever had. So my personal feelings for Queen and their influence on my music tastes aside for one moment, I do have to say that Bohemian Rhapsody was a fantastically put together biopic. I loved it from start to finish, and the whole end scene with Live Aid and their performance just really, really got to me, and it was so well filmed and shot that it just landed brilliantly for the ending of the film. So with that in mind, Bohemian Rhapsody gets 4.5 stars from me. It is so close to a 5-star film, but there were just a couple of tweaks here and there that I personally would have wanted to see a little bit more of. I would have happily sat through another 10 minutes of this film to have certain scenes be a little bit longer. And this may well be one of my films of the year. So, Bohemian Rhapsody, have you seen it? What did you think about it? What was your favourite Queen song that was involved in this film? And who else would you want to see a big biopic like this made out of? And also, Oscar nominations for Rami Malek, yes or no? All comments are welcome in the comments section below. Let's talk rock and roll. As always, if you've enjoyed what you've seen here and you want to see more, you can click right here to subscribe and see some more funky fresh videos from yours truly. And until that point, no, it really works better when there's a whole crowd in front of you.